What's up, everybody? Welcome back to HOA MMA. AJ, what is going on, man? How are you doing today?
I'm all good, bro. It's been a pretty good week. It's a pretty chill week. I've got a lot of friends' birthdays this week, so I'm out and about, busy. I've started. Well, you already know this, but I started doing a Tarantino marathon. So I'm doing a movie a night. I'm now on one of my favorite films ever, Kill Bill Part One. So I can't wait to watch that again. So yeah, man, it's it's been a pretty good week.
Yeah, I was gonna say you've been working your way through Tarantino. Um, is Kill Bill your favorite Tarantino flick?
Oh yeah, easily. Yeah, like come on, like it's like martial arts. Like it's like his version of like those like old martial arts movies, and you already know like I love that shit. So
Yeah.
come on, who doesn't like the Bride against the crazy 88? Like that fight alone is one of the like the best things growing up. That yeah, I just can't get enough of it, man.
It's um, it's
It's a
a
great film.
fantastic film. It's incredible. Like you said, you watched Jackie Brown last night. Jackie Brown's great. Um, is it Kill Bill 1 or 2 where she breaks out of the coffin with her hand, or out
Two,
of the coffin with
two,
the punches?
two. Yeah, it
I
was
don't
in
know
two. I
why,
didn't.
but that scene sticks with me so much. Like watching her, just her hands start to shrink. I don't know why it sticks with me, but every time I think of Kill Bill, I think of Part 2 where she's breaking out of the coffin thing.
Yeah,
I don't know. It
because
just
there
sticks
isn't.
with me, the short punches.
Yeah, because that's when Michael Manson like shoots her with the rock salt and then he buries her, and then whilst he's talking
Yes.
talking with Elle, she's like punching it out.
Just Kill Bill in general, fantastic. Obviously, Tarantino, one of the greats. Um, let's get into MMA this week. We've got a couple different things to cover. You mentioned to me a little bit earlier that PFL is in talks to buy Bellator. Can you tell me what you think of that, and what's the potential going forward if those two companies can join?
If this deal does go through, because as far as I'm aware, when I saw when I was checking on Twitter, just on like the news, and when I actually like clicked on the actual like link, uh, it's kind of just talks right now.
Mm-hmm.
But if it does, this will be really good for the sport because we already know, especially over the past couple of months, especially towards the end of like last year and like recently, PFL's been trending very high, like as a potential competitor. We know that in terms of MMA, there's there's obviously there's obviously one group which is very above everywhere else, and we know who they are, but but like like you say, PFL's probably if it isn't second, it's third in terms of MMA organizations. And if they're able to acquire Bellator, when Bellator have a massive roster of people, that's what you call a huge, like that's going to feel like a huge like shift in terms of they'll probably put them as clearly at least the number two MMA organization out there, and you'll send a message to say that look, we're actually kind of like ready to take risks and make moves, and to like improve things and actually challenge them, Dana and the boys over there, because obviously we all know for the best part of 30 years, the UFC's been king. I mean, it's brought up Pride, it's brought out like Strike Force,
Mm-hmm.
cement itself as the MMA people. Whereas if this kind of merger happens, huge moves.
It's and it's really exciting for MMA as a whole. Um, just with these two companies together, this is definitely a sign that hey, we want to compete. We know UFC is the top dog, but hey, we're here and we're going to put together an organization that can potentially rival someday. This is a building blocks to get to that. Obviously, it's not going to happen overnight. Um,
Mhm.
do you think they'll keep the do you think they'll keep the tournament style, or do you think they're going to be willing to adapt and go different directions now?
Do you know what? That was actually the one thing I was thinking about, mainly because you got a lot of fighters in Bellator who you kind of used to fight in a certain way. They'll fight maybe twice a year, and with PFL, with the tournament format, you have to fight, I think, every 2-3 months or something like that. So you're effectively fighting like four times a year.
Right.
That doing that is basically a lot. Like even if fighter fights twice a year, that can be quite a lot to demand of them. So I'm kind of guessing they may have to look into that, you know, and to kind of touch on what you said as well. Competition is good, like amongst companies and stuff, because if the UFC feel like they have like like a rival for once,
Yeah.
like well. Probably the last time that rival was probably like Strikeforce, even though they bought them out. But there's a reason why they did that, of course. But competition is good because it makes everyone raise up their game. Even though we all know, like MMA. If you want to watch the best MMA fighters, you basically go onto ESPN and you watch, and you basically just watch, and you do go and watch the UFC. But
Yeah.
I kind of like, and this is something you probably would kind of like appreciate, and this is kind of going back a little bit before my time. But you know, when WWE was like the top guys, and then in like the 90s you had like WCW,
Yes.
and you had like the Monday Night Wars, and obviously back then you kind of look at WWE's like golden era was obviously when they were competing with obviously WCW. So
Right.
it's kind of like if the UFC have someone that feel like, oh shit, we really need to like watch out for these people. As good as they are, they're really gonna up their game. And you know, us as fans who just love MMA, not just I'm only gonna watch like Bellator, I'm only gonna watch one, I'm only gonna watch like the UFC. People who just love MMA, we will benefit from that if there's really good competition between the two groups.
And that's very well said. And that's a prime example of what we as fans should want. We should want that WCW WWE dynamic where we're flipping the channel to PFL/Bellator. We're flipping back to see what fights on UFC. I mean, that kind of thing right there, it will drive viewership. It will drive companies to do more. So yeah, totally in on that. That's a fantastic way of putting it. I think it's just exciting, like anytime a company can get bigger and improve, you got to be excited for that in an industry like MMA. What kind of does Scott Coker stay on, do you think, or is he getting bought out too? How do you think that's going to go down?
I feel like they could. I mean, I kind of guess it depends on obviously what everyone wants, but I feel like in a very ideal world, you can kind of keep him on and just have him be like the Dana White like figurehead who kind of when there's like the big fights, he's there. He's going to be like the promoter of it all. It's just under the PFL maybe, and I do feel, and I kind of want to get your opinion of this. If this talk goes through, I feel like the best way to kind of advertise this merger would be to have the Bellator champions fight against the PFL champions.
It should be. They should have
off rip.
They should have like a WrestleMania right away.
Yeah,
like that's what you're saying. Like a WrestleMania, they should have a pay-per-view
card versus champion.
They should promote it, and it should be,
champion versus champion.
Exactly. If anything, I would almost make it like, depending on how this deal works, obviously massive corporation deals take time, but if they could do this deal and have a massive pay-per-view card where their champions are fighting their champions, if they did that on like January 1st and that restarts your whole year, you have potentially new champions, you have one champion throughout your whole company in every division, and you're set going forward for the next year. You have everybody lined out, and then you have your contenders right there too, and you can lay out your brackets going forward if they continue with the bracket system, or if they could almost do like a, stick with us, we're doing a lot of wrestling references, but a SmackDown and a Raw. One side is pay-per-views, one side is tournament brackets. Like, just an idea. I'm just saying, if they did that,
it's kind of like the old what's that pay-per-view called? Always happens in was like the full-time Survivor Series. It could be like team versus team kind of thing.
Yeah,
that would be pretty cool.
I think that would be really cool. So I'm just saying, like, I love that idea from you, like massive pay-per-view blowout to end the year, and then next year, or even like Christmas Eve night or something like that, something crazy. Have a massive pay-per-view, and then you start the new year and you've got a clean slate, and you're going into the next year with both companies under one roof. Yeah, I love that idea. I think that's really big. Somebody else who's very big right now in MMA, Sergei motherfucking Pavlovich. Oh my God. 6 straight KOs inside the first round. Send help to the heavyweight division. This guy is on fire. What did you think, man? What did you think of what if he threw a punch, it was touching Curtis somewhere in this region. It was insane.
I'm pushing him back and pushing him back. Man, I mean, I know last week I did pick Pavlovich to lose, and that was clearly fucking stupid on my part. But like, I'm not gonna, because I do have a lot of things to say when it basically comes down to Blaydes, but I'm not gonna do that right now. We're gonna talk about the main man here, like the big scary man that is Sergei Pavlovich, because holy fuck, like every single time he threw with bad intentions, and he was just rocking him, like, and he was eating punches, like he was getting hit 3 or 4 times, and he was just shaking off, like, all right, cool, and he literally just ran through him. He ran through him, and 6 wins, 6 first round finishes, and you're doing against, like, it's all good and well when he's doing against people outside of like the top 10, but when you're doing it against Derek Lewis, even though I thought that stoppage was a little bit early, you're doing against Ty, and now against Curtis Blaydes, who has only really lost against Francis and Derek.
Yep.
Like, yeah, every single heavyweight inside the top 5 is on who has to kind of like watch out for him, like, because it's clear now, like, this guy is literally here to stay. Like, he's here to stay, and he is a problem for everyone.
It's
everyone.
The way he fights is so impressive. The accuracy for how big he is, and the precision he can punch with, combined with obviously power, is so scary. Blaydes shot one time, and I think he forgot where he was the rest of the time because he was just getting touched so much. And even the commentators were like, the commentators are worried, like, he's not shooting. What's going on? I just think he was getting beat out of him. I don't know. And I think, it wasn't a great shot when he tried to take Pavlovich down, but Pavlovich, I mean, held him right there. Like, he didn't give up any ground on the shot. I mean, he just held him right there and just picked him apart. It was very, very impressive outing from Sergei. That takes us into my next thing I want to ask you, because this has been a topic for the last couple of days after the big win, obviously. Mm-hmm. How would you feel if he jumped in and fought Jon Jones instead of Stipe right now?
On merit?
Because here's the thing. We're still having problems with Stipe and Jon signing the contract and it becoming official. And potentially it keeps getting pushed back and pushed back. Do you want to see a guy as good as Sergei, who's as hot as Sergei right now, have to wait till after maybe potentially an October fight between Jon and Stipe? There's a lot of factors at play here.
I mean, if you're just looking on, like, if I take Sergei, and obviously we got Miocic, right? On merit, Sergei clearly deserves a title shot. If we're looking just on clear merit, right? Because obviously I think Pavlovich is ranked. I think he's ranked number 2 now. But I think last week he was 3rd. But, like, it's very clear, like, he's like, if you're talking about someone who's obviously within the top 5 and he's had 6 wins, 6 finishes inside the first round, in any other weight division, that guy's next fight is going to be for the belt.
Right.
And we have this, but we do know we do also know that obviously name value does matter, and that's what drives, like, companies, and Jon Jones, the GOAT, against the heavyweight GOAT, Stipe, will sell out any pay-per-view it'd be one of the biggest fights name wise, but I do feel like because it is obviously mixed martial arts, and the martial arts side of things is obviously honor and honor, values, integrity, and all of that. Even though we do know it is obviously like a business, and it is also a business now. Sergey should really be fighting for it, but I do kind of feel like he's going to be kind of stopped because, to be fair, we're probably not going to see Jon fight probably until end of the year, probably at Madison Square Gardens maybe, which is going to be like November time. And then you're probably going to wait until 2024, which has me thinking Pavlovich is probably going to have to fight Garn in the meantime. And that for me doesn't do anything, and it's a huge risk, and it is a huge risk for him because we all know that Garn on the feet, like forget about what happened in fucking January. No, early March time when obviously Jon just took it down and ran.
I just don't know what he was doing in that fight. I have no fucking clue what he was doing in that fight, dude.
But if I'm going to be Sergey, right, the last person I want to fight is Cyril Gane because he's too good on the feet. He's too quick, and he'll probably will outpoint you, right? So he's probably gonna have to wait, but then you're probably not gonna fight until 2024. So it's kind of stuck.
That's what's unfortunate when you have legends and guys who are lined up to fight for a title fight, and you can't get them on the same page. But at the same time, like I think if you fought Cyril versus Sergey, I think that's a 50-50 fight. I think either guy could win, and I don't think Sergey would. Yeah, I don't think Sergey would just flat out lose. But like, Gane is the type of guy who has. Yeah, if we forget about what he looked like against Jon, if we remember what he looked like against other guys, he has the ability to not get touched quite like some of these other guys have, and that's a tough fight. It just sucks because he's on such a tear. Like, why could we not do this in July? Jones, Pavlovich, Stipe, he could wait. He's been waiting. It's been 2 years. He's not active. These active guys still need when they earn a championship fight, they should get a championship fight. Like, I'm all for selling tickets, but I think Pavlovich sells tickets right now against Jon Jones. He's hot enough right now where it will sell.
Oh, yeah.
It maybe won't do as well.
For sure.
But you put a badass fight underneath it, and yeah, you'll get those extra ticket sales. Okay, here you go. To supplement the Stipe and Jones tickets, you put Covington and Leon on that undercard right there. You put them underneath Jones and Pavlovich. You don't have a problem with business. There's no business issue. So, and then that way you kill two birds with one stone. You get Covington potentially out of there, and you don't have to worry about him being in the title, and just get it done with. And there's a way to supplement the business if you're not using Stipe, in my opinion.
Yeah. I do kind of feel like the main.
I'm on the roll right now with Pavlovich.
No, for sure. I do also feel like the main reason why the UFC are dead set on having Stipe against obviously Jon Jones, because they're probably going to do it in obviously around the fall. Probably going to be at MSG now, and also this is the 30th year anniversary. You're gonna want a big name fight for it. You're gonna want a fight that has like meaning, that they can literally just sell the fuck out of it. And besides obviously Conor, that's the fight. Like there isn't no one.
If you don't do it that way, you have Conor and Chandler. You could put Conor and Chandler at MSG, and it would never matter because they'll sell more. Conor by himself will sell more. So you could make it work.
Bro, but you can't really justify having a non-title fight Conor McGregor fight above the heavyweight title fight. Like you can't have that as the whole main event. Like even based on me, that shit would be insane. It would be insane, but I think financially it would still pan out. Especially in New York. It was
But I see what you're saying. I totally understand. I think Sergey's in a tough spot. I also thought, instead of asking for the bonus, he should have been calling for Jon Jones right there. That was the one thing I didn't like. Dude, you just flatline Curtis Blaydes. You're getting the damn bonus. Call for the title shot. That's the big money. You're still going to get your $50K. You just destroyed a man. Why are you not calling for Jon Jones to try to get public sentiment and try to get the gears working to get Jon Jones? These guys, they get on the microphone, and I know he's foreign, and I know it's different for them, and I get that. But somebody's got to be in his ear. Call this motherfucker out now, and let's get it started. People have been dropping. They've been dropping the ball.
Even if it just said Jon Jones and said nothing else, they would just get people.
Jones, you're next. Something simple. Yeah. That is a perfect Russian line. Jones, you're next. Russian keep it short and sweet. We know, like, it's perfect. You're a machine. We get it. But you're calling out for a $50K bonus when you just killed a guy. We get it. You're getting your money. God dang it. Call somebody out.
Damn, you went full on Rocky IV right there.
Because it works no matter what. It's always going to work for some reason. It's always going to work. And you don't have to bring up nationality. I can beat this guy right now. And then Jones is gonna have to. He's watched you beat Blaydes, who's a fantastic wrestler. He's watched you flatline Derek or Ty, who can do a little bit of both, who's got great hands. You destroyed Derek Lewis. Yeah, it might have been early, but he could have gotten hurt worse. He's seen that he's beaten guys who have steps in Jon Jones's skills. I think he would have taken notice of Sergei if he called him out properly at the end of the fight. But enough about Sergei. I'm super excited about him, as you can tell. I'm excited about just the potential of just this wrecking machine coming through the division. It's always fun when we get a guy like just who's on a win streak, who just seems like he's a Terminator. Let's get into the actual fight night from the Pavlovich and Blaydes card. A fight that you had highlighted, and that was a lot of fun for the fans, was Usman versus Tafa. Usman ekes out a victory in the end there. Got to be honest with you, man. Anytime that was on the feet, Usman looked like he was in trouble. Tafa was hard.
He was getting pieced up. But then, again, I forgot. I do forget, obviously, his surname is Usman, and he just went straight down to wrestling, and Tafa had no answer for that whatsoever. He was just getting cuddled down there. He was just getting cuddled down there. I know I picked it out as a fight to watch, but that was a bit of a very, very tough watch. It wasn't that all out big men slanging it out, kind of like heavyweight, like slugfest, as I thought that it would be. I mean, it's a good win, but it's very clear that obviously Tafa needs to work on his takedown defense.
Yes.
Yeah, ground game at all, because on the feet, like you said, he was just every time he was throwing,
my God,
he was putting him in trouble. But again,
yeah, I mean, it only took a couple punches for Usman to understand that it had to be a ground battle, or else, because even at the end in the third round, there was 30 seconds left, and he definitely wobbled Usman again before Usman kind of did a half tackle into the hold to make sure he won out in time. Tafa, man, if we can get his skills a little bit higher, he's going to be trouble for people, because he can touch you and he can put you out. And I think if anything I can take away, hey, great job, Usman, but Tafa, I think, is the better guy going forward, potential-wise, because the skills, because you can fill in those skills when you already have the power like that. So I think going forward, Tafa's stock is still on the up and up. Where do you think Usman gets a top 15 guy now, or do you think he's not ready?
Not ready.
Too soon?
He's probably 2 or 3 fights away. I do know that he's probably a little bit older, so they may just want to like move him up a little bit. But I mean, who knows? He may go out in his next fight and just like get like a highlight reel, like KO again, and then all of a sudden the hype's up there. But I probably would say realistically, he's probably 2 or 3 fights away. But I wouldn't be shocked if they just give him, because he's obviously, you know, he obviously does have a name out there, and you know, like the heavyweight division is kind of like shifting towards like new people coming up now. They're trying to like fast people up because we got a fight, Gelton Almeida against Rosenstrike coming up. Was Almeida's a guy who I'm very high on, who's kind of going this way, and they're using Rosenstrike as like a test for that. So I do feel like with Usman, he's probably going to get like probably someone. If it isn't someone within the top 15, probably someone just on the fringe of it. But I would say he does need a bit more work and just rounding out like his skills and stuff because, yeah, like against a very limited mixed martial artist, like what happened last weekend, he did get in a lot of trouble, which I was a little bit concerned about.
Yeah, that's totally fair. I think name value, I think they will try to get him maybe that 14th or 15th guy just because. But I do understand him needing a little more time. I look forward to the next time Taffa gets in there because that guy is scary and he's an enjoyable guy to watch. Let's jump over to Wells versus Smellsberger. This one ended up being a split decision. I have a question for you because this was kind of the theme of the fight. Are we losing the importance of like the takedown and the control time? Because here's the thing: when they were on the feet, Smellsberger clearly had the advantage, but he also got taken down repeatedly and was held down. I mean, Wells had 11 minutes of control time. He was 6 of 10 on takedowns. I mean, he did get knocked down twice, but like he recovered and he controlled legitimately 11 out of the 15 minutes in terms of time. So can you tell me what your thoughts are on that going forward and where you think it matters most?
I kind of feel at this point now, like how we actually score the takedown needs to be looked at a little bit more because it's very clear that obviously some people, they'll literally just take people down and kind of like keep them there, whereas they're not really like advancing. They're not like really trying to like advance anything. They're not trying to get the action going. They're not trying to get like some sort of like advantage. Like they just want to keep people down there. So control time does matter, and it should. Like you shouldn't be pleased for it, but I feel like you kind of need to have like if you're not running down like ground and pound, if you're basically not trying to like reach a point on the ground where like you're threatening some sort of finish, like like if like you kind of just keep them down there, and the other person obviously clearly can't really get back up, and they're not fighting you on that, and they're just kind of like, okay, cool, I've been taken down. There's nothing I can do. I'm just going to stay here until the guy gets tired and stuff like that. It is a very hard one because you don't want to go to the point where it handicaps like a wrestler to the point where it favors like the grappler. Yeah. That has to be some sort of balance. And I know that obviously as fans a lot, people prefer when people watch MMA, I'll say about 70 to 80% of people, they prefer to see kickboxing fights. I know people say like MMA, but if you look at the best fights that people see, like you think about Robbie Lawler against McDonald 2, Zhang Weili against Joanna, mainly kickboxing fights, right? You get Jon Jones against Gustafsson, has a little bit of wrestling, but mainly plays out, on the feet. Yeah. Usman against Colby 1, 2 elite wrestlers, but they just kickbox each other, right? So I do kind of feel like there has to be some sort of looking at like, okay, cool. If you are going to take someone down, and if you're going to have a lot of control time, are you advancing? Are you going to advance the action? Are you trying to cause damage? Are you basically trying to initiate like a finish? Because if you're just taking someone down and literally just keeping them there, then you're not really doing much. You shouldn't really be scored points or a point just for that. Taking down a takedown is cool, and getting it's cool, but it's kind of a case of what you do after that, which should obviously really matter. So, but again,
to be fair to Wells, he was doing a lot of ground and pound. He was he was control, like he was actually doing control. I mean, he had a lot of strikes on the ground. I just think that people, yeah, he got dropped twice, but 6 takedowns and 11 minutes of control, and he also landed almost 50 more punches. I don't know. I thought this. I thought like I was pretty sure Wells won, but then when I heard the judges when they said split, I was like, oh my god, wait, did the 2 knockdowns mean that much more when Wells always he ended every round on top. He was always working and punching from the top. I was wondering what your take was because that ended up being a split decision. And while I give credit to Smellsberger for knocking him down twice, I just never felt like he took advantage of those knockdowns in the same way Wells was taking control of the fight.
I think I kind of will say like the best thing to kind of break that down would be, okay, could you go and name me a good one of a moment for him apart from those 2 knockdowns? You can't.
No.
So right. If you can't say anything else that he did apart from, okay, all right, cool. And over the course of 3 rounds, he knocked him down twice. Did he do anything to build on that? No. Did he do anything outside of that, which was better? No. So, and it's very, very clear to me if you're scoring a mixed martial arts fight that basically went over 3 rounds, Wells clearly won the fight, and it should have been no doubt. I couldn't see how anyone can give the fight any other way.
Okay. Man, I think we've done a good job breaking that one down. We'll do Lucindo versus Walker quickly. Young up-and-comer takes down the older, not necessarily old that way, but the more experienced fighter. I thought Walker came on pretty strong at the end, but I have no problem with Lucindo winning that fight. She did outstrike her. Lucindo outstruck her by 20 plus strikes. Did a little more damage overall, in my opinion, to the head. Did you see that going any other way besides Lucindo winning?
No, I was kind of not really. I mean, it was clear that obviously, apart like you said, apart from that very, very last rush, inside the final round. By that point, then it was kind of too little, too late. Lucindo was clearly just ahead and was just had a bit more class than her. Overall that night.
Totally fair.
I mean, going for her, she's very young, and there is going to be a lot more better tests out there for her moving forward.
Yes.
So,
yeah, well, we didn't spend too much time on that one. Let's jump into Bobby Green versus Gordon. Ends in a no contest. I got to tell you, man, Bobby Green, that sucked. Like, bro, you dove your head into the side of his face. And you're going to come into the after thing talking about throwing an elbow. Your elbow wasn't even out. It was a punch. And you weren't even close to hitting on that punch. It was one of the clearest headbutts I've ever seen. Like, I don't know. That was weird. I thought Gordon was doing a decent job on the feet with Bobby. I thought he was touching him. And then that headbutt, man, was just vicious. That was like a missile. What did you think of the headbutt? What did you think of Bobby Green afterward? I mean, some people eat that stuff up, but I just thought he just came off like an asshole.
I mean, first of all, I didn't know that obviously Bobby Green was obviously clearly a Pokemon because he literally used Skull Bash.
Dude, it was so clear.
Bad. That was bad. I mean, the last time I remember a headbutt like that was Carl Dorcas against Kevin Holland when obviously they clashed heads and Kevin was kind of KO'd. Like he was clearly he was done, and he got and I know he basically got choked out, and he got ruled as a no contest. But no, yeah, man, like I'm 100% with you. I did think Bobby Green was doing his usual stuff first, hands down, kind of like he was getting hit a little bit, but he was moving out he was fighting well. He was fighting well. I wouldn't say he's fighting great.
I don't think he was doing a bad job.
He wasn't doing a bad job. Like it was a very 50-50-ish fight. But then of course like the headbutt changes things completely. Yeah, we already know when it comes to him when he does have interviews and stuff like that, he's kind of a little bit out there, like you know, and some people like it, and some people hate it. Personally, for me, I'm really indifferent to it, but I'm always someone of like, okay, if I'm if I'm obviously in a fight, right, and I headbutt someone, and obviously they obviously clearly cannot fight anymore. They clearly concussed, whatever. It comes out as like a draw. I'll just like, do you know what? Unfortunately, it happened. I kind of leaned in a bit too much. We basically clash heads. It sucks. Maybe me and him can run it back, or like we move. Cool.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't really double down and say I kind of threw the
An
elbow.
elbow.
When your elbow, like if I'm throwing an elbow, right, like this, my head should not be anywhere near. Like, come on, man.
It wasn't an elbow at all. Like it was, his arm was over here and his head's come. I don't know if he didn't see the footage or he doesn't remember. I mean, they hit heads very hard. I don't know if he just kind of like lost time for a second. But dude, that's not what happened. Like you destroyed him. That's how I felt when Blastoise. I would use Skull Bash with Blastoise. Like, I'm trying to take away every ounce of HP you've got right now. But I don't know. I if they ran it back, great. If they never fought in the UFC again, great. If they wanted to have a triple threat with them two, and Patty,
I
just don't even care.
You literally should just hate Paddy at this point. Like you literally
I don't like all three of them now. I don't like all three of them now. All three of them are just. I don't even care.
Jared Gordon is catching strays. He's done nothing wrong.
He beat Patty. I'm still gonna let everybody know he beat Patty, and we don't know if Bobby Green doesn't hit him in the face with his skull. You never know. But I'm over these guys. They're fuck. Let's get into Tavares versus Silva. Bruno with a very nice KO, TKO. How did you think about that one? I thought these guys, I thought they matched up well, and I thought Bruno, dynamic, just very dynamic. The way these guys fight is razor thin margins when you fight this way, and looks like
it was a fun fight. Yeah, it was a very very cool fight. Like it was very very fun to watch. I did feel like Brad was like winning the fight up until he got caught. I know he kind of felt like, it was a bit early. I wasn't out, but you was done. Like I felt like it was a good stop by the ref because it's one of those ones where okay, cool, you may have not gone like flat out like sparked out, but if it carried on, we're gonna go to sleep. Like so, it was a good it was a very very good fight and a good win for Bruno. But yeah, like it was a cool fight, man. Like it was it's kind of like as you said, two even match people in a very very close fight, and all it takes is one moment, and the fight can change, and that's what happened.
And like that, and exactly that's perfect. I don't think there's if Tavares and Silva fought again next week, if Tavares won, I wouldn't be surprised. Like that's what I mean. I mean, those guys are very close. It's a good win for Silva because that's a guy who's probably in the UFC's eyes is like, okay, these guys are even. Here we go. Tavares, he looked like he reacted well on the ground and spun around, but like you said, you're in such a bad spot, man. Like the ref is doing you a favor by ending that fight before it gets worse. And I think it's hard to take that into consideration when you just get done fighting. Your adrenaline's still going, you're still amped up. And then maybe when you go home and watch the footage, you're like, okay, that could have got a lot worse. Yeah, hopefully people can reflect this way because CTE is a real
day, man.
CTE is a real thing, and brain damage is legit. So I think people got to take into consideration sometimes longevity matters in sports also. Two really good fighters. I can't complain about a fight where you got guys that match up so well in terms of their style. And then that takes us to the big one, Godzilla versus King Kong. Godzilla wins this round. Sergei Pavlovich beats Curtis Blaydes, and he beat him very, very convincingly. You mentioned earlier you had some stuff you wanted to say about Curtis. Now seems like a good time to say it. How are you feeling about Curtis going forward?
He's still good, but he had an awful game plan. Awful game plan. He fell in love with the hands. He fell in love with the hands. And you just can't do that. And I've noticed this now. This is twice that he's done this. He did this against Derek Lewis, right? He fell in love with the hands and he wasn't going for the takedowns as much. He was kind of thinking, okay, like, because he's had a few recent KO like wins, and I was thinking the last thing that you can do against this guy is thinking I can basically stand with him. No, this guy has 5-round KOs for a fucking reason, and even though he was basically catching him, like he was actually landing a bit, it wasn't doing nothing. Sergei was just literally getting tagged and going, okay, I'm basically getting hit and this is it.
Yeah.
Lunch. Like, and people go, oh, like he basically does that to go and set up and go. He does that to go and set up the takedowns, but he was getting hurt. It's all good throwing whilst you're not getting hit back and you're not taking any damage, but he's getting hurt every single time he's basically getting hit. And at that point now, he's getting desperate. And when he basically went in to shoot, it was so sloppy, and anyone can see it like coming from basically like mile off. All Pavlovich had to do was literally just put it. All he did was he literally just put his fucking hands down and moved back and was like,
yeah, it wasn't
okay, okay, and he was like, whoa, like all this. The one thing Sergei's head thinking, the one thing that I had to like worry about was obviously being taken down, and that's it.
Yeah.
After that, it was literally he literally just got ran through, and I feel like Curtis Blaydes hasn't learned his lesson faced against Derek Lewis and obviously Francis. You need to set up your wrestling against these big, heavy power punches a lot sooner. Do not fall in love with the hands. Don't fall in love with the hands because every time he's done that against someone who basically hits a lot more harder than him, he basically ends up on his he just ends up just going down, and he's really good. Like I know that his style isn't really for like everyone when he kind of just like train like wrestles a lot, but he's still very good. But it was just a poor night for him.
Yeah, I don't even like my strategy going into that if I'm Curtis Blaydes is we touch gloves and I'm shooting because I want you to be thinking about it right away. Yeah. I want it in your mind. I might not get my first shot, but I want it in my mind because that gives you a little more space. And that way you're not in that strike zone right away because Sergei's the type of guy, if he touches you once, he's in his zone. And he's that kind of puncher where he can touch you once. Okay, here's my distance. Because he's just that accurate. He's that good. It's not like knocking out Chris Dawkins. It's not the same. Like you're fighting somebody who's just, it's not the same. And Curtis has lost to the three biggest punchers in the heavyweight division. And like when you go and look at his record, he's what, 17-4? And your 4 losses are the same exact way. You don't have to. We get it. The public, they're not going to like you, Curtis. They're just, I don't know why you're not liked. Yeah, you wrestle, darn. But you don't have to lose to strikers this way. You don't. You could literally tackle them. Just tackle them. You don't have to get punched like this. 4 losses, and it's Francis twice, Derek, Sergei. Punches.
And it's not even the case like he's basically getting like stopped in terms of like TK when he's like kind of getting like beaten up and he's like on his feet, he's kind of like wobbled. He's getting laid out. He's getting laid out. Like, I know that the first Francis fight, it was a dot stoppage because like his eye was so fucked, he just couldn't fight anymore. The second one against Francis, he got put down like 5 times within like a minute. We know what Derek did to him. He literally just sent him to the fucking shadow realm. And
Derek Lewis never should have beaten Curtis Blaydes. In no world should Derek have. It's just like Blaydes. I like the way you fight, dude. But you got to do something different when you fight these type guys. It's not Chris Dawkins. It's not Volkov. It's not the same type of guy. Yeah. I do want to mention something. Curtis Blaydes is like 6'4", 230 plus, and Sergei looked just massive next to him. It is so scary how big this guy is. Like, Curtis Blaydes is a big dude, and he looks small.
And guess what makes this worse, right? Pavlovich grew up as a Greco-Roman wrestler.
Oh my God!
Which is even more crazy. So even talking about all of this, even if Curtis could even manage to like grab like a takedown, he could have just got straight back up and be like, I bet.
Yeah.
And just go back.
Not even had to use it once. I think we've touched on those two guys more than enough. Very impressive, Sergei. Obviously, I'm in your corner. I want to see you keep going. AJ, this weekend we have another fight night. We've got to come out and say it right now. It is a shit card. The UFC did not do anybody any favors this weekend. We've got three quality fights, and I think we're going to break down just those 3. Let's start off with Ferreira versus Brundage. How do you see that one going down?
Rodolfo Vieira is a highly touted BJJ guy, like multiple-time world champion, who happened in the first MMA fight I ever saw. He got choked out by Fluffy Hernandez, which I thought was actually hilarious to me, like absolutely crazy. With that basically being said, I do basically feel like he will probably win this one, you know, because obviously, regardless of that, he is actually still very good, but he just has a slight cardio issue. So I can probably see him probably catching something early and not making, and obviously just not and kind of just not gassing, and not kind of just like gassing himself out too much. I do feel like he'd be a lot more better paced in this fight. So I've got him winning.
Okay. This is a tough one. Brundage, his last fight was against the guy, he's fighting in the co-main event, Oleskovich. I don't even know how to say his name. Crazy name. I'm going to go with Ferreira also. I think the same thing. If cardio is not an issue, I think he wins this one going away. Good fight. That's a good matchup at middleweight. Really like that one. Let's touch on the next one. We got Erosa versus Padilla in the featherweight division. Tell me why this one's important to you.
Because Junior Erosa does not have bad fights. Like, he doesn't have boring fights recently. He is in really fun fights. He's basically what you call a solid fighter, because I know in his last fight he lost against my guy Bruce Leroy with that amazing head kick. But if you kind of look in his last 3 fights before then, he beat Hakeem.
Yep.
He's really good. Hakeem Dawodu, he's really good. And then one of his other wins, he won against Charles. He won against Charles Jourdain.
Yep.
Who we know who's a very exciting fighter and very dynamic. And obviously, to be fair, in his last fight, that fucking head kick came from that came out of nowhere and came from so far out at such an awkward angle that will put out anyone. And I do feel like he probably will bounce back um, because he doesn't just lose to just anyone recently, in my opinion. So I do have him winning. I'll probably will take him over 3 rounds if I had to put any money
on it. This is Fernando Padilla. I believe this is his first fight in the UFC.
Okay.
I'm going to take him. I want an upset. I'm going to take Padilla. I don't know a lot about him. He's coming over from let's see, what is it? He's coming over from Fury FC. So Fury Fighting Championship. I'm interested to see him fight. I haven't seen him fight before, but I'm taking an upset. I'm totally with you. Rosa does not have bad fights. It'll be a fun fight no matter what. But I'm going to have a little parody on here, and I'm going to go with Padilla. Our next fight's going to be the main event. These are 2 very well-known guys. Both guys have been fighting for a while now. Song Yadong versus Ricky Simone. How do you see this one shaking out?
First of all, I just want to say, I know a lot of people are annoyed about because this fight was meant to happen last week and it was a co-main, and people were saying, "Oh, why is this fight headlining the main event?" Because we did have Arman against Money Morcano, and obviously that fight kind of got scrapped off. I'm very happy about this because, in my opinion, in terms of sheer people and basically talent, 135 is clearly the best division in MMA right now across the board for me personally, and especially over here in the UFC. It has tons of great guys head to toe, and I do feel and I'm really hoping with this fight, which obviously in itself is a great fight in itself, but I do kind of hope moving forward we basically see a lot more bantamweight main events, especially because you've got literally Ricky Simone at 10, and I think obviously Son is probably 7 or like 8.
Yeah,
that's crazy to me. And like you've got other people, like you've got people like Umar, who's obviously in around like the top 15, and other people coming up like we should be seeing, especially from the weight classes 155 to 135, we should be seeing a lot more fight like main event caliber fights because there's so many good fighters there. And yeah, man, I actually can't wait for this because obviously Song Yudong I've been high on for a while now. He's only 25, I think 25 or 26. He's fucking good. I know that recently in his last fight against Sanhagen, he kind of got taken. He kind of really got outclassed a bit. But even though he had a really bad cut injury, and he was still moving forward, man. Like
yeah,
fucking Song is a dog, and he can crack. He has insane power. And Ricky Simone is kind of like the dark horse for me because he's really good everywhere. And he made a really good statement when he obviously beat Jack Shaw, who's the only person to beat Jack Shaw, by the way. And he beat him convincingly. He beat him up on the feet, and then he literally he had a arm triangle. Like, so this fight is going to be a really, really fun fight because you've obviously got one guy who has great striking and great power against someone who is a little bit more well-rounded, who can obviously who's more than capable of obviously firing back. So yeah, this fight could be a really, really good one to watch for sure.
Yeah, this is a fantastic fight for the division. I'm gonna go with Ricky in this one. I like his ability to get the takedown. I like his ability on the ground. I do think him and Song are gonna be very interesting on the feet. Ricky proved that he can still bang with anybody. It's just, can he get him to the ground? Can he keep him on the ground? Can he maintain that position and work from the ground? I think he's won 5 fights in a row now. Ricky has.
Yeah.
So it's been a while since he's even lost. This is a big time fight for that division. Really looking forward to it. Give me Ricky. I'll say, yeah, just give me Ricky by a submission in the third round.
Oh,
Yeah.
Jon Jones has never been finished inside the UFC, so that right there is a huge. That right there would be.
There's always time for something to happen.
Oh,
and I
of
think
course.
Ricky's been super hot recently. I think he is literally at the peak of his game, I think, right now. And this is the time to make a big statement. A big win over Song Yadong puts you right into that conversation with those other killers at the top of the division. I'm calling it right now. Third round submission.
I agree with you in the third, but I think Song will catch him and put him away in the third.
Yeah. That'll be interesting to watch, guys, going forward. Let's touch on one more thing before we get out of here. We were still a couple weeks away from Sterling versus Cejudo. Bantamweight going forward. What are your thoughts? Because they've got talent just oozing everywhere right now, just
everywhere,
loaded. What are your thoughts on that division right now? Is there a fight that hasn't been made that you want to see in that division?
There's two.
Okay.
Two in particular. One is one that we've both spoke about before. Sugar Sean against obviously our guy Corey Sandhagen. Two very tall guys who are technically sound on the feet. That right there will be an amazing chess match to watch. That would be a really, really fun fight to watch. Another one would be Merab against Umar Nurmagomedov. Because I know that people are really high on basically Umar, who has good hands, by the way. I know people just think because he's just because of like who he is and his family and stuff. He has really good hands as well. But I want to know, can Merab that machine?
Yeah.
Do that to fucking Umar, because fucking Umar looks like an absolute phenom. So those are basically two fights to me that I would really like to see. And as well as Cheeto against obviously Jan as well. That fight would be a fun one.
Yeah, that's got to be coming up soon. I mean, how much longer can we hold it off? I was gonna give a shout out to my guy Rob Font. I'd like to see him in. Have him and Munoz fought already? I'm trying to remember, and Let me look. Let me double check myself before I say.
Okay. As far as I can remember, I don't think so.
No, I don't. They have not. I would like to see that fight. Two guys who could they can just stand there and go. I would like to see. That's obviously a little lesser profile fight, but it's still an important fight for the division.
It's a great fight either way. Yeah, it's a great fight either way.
And then I still want Corey to follow through on his call out. I want Corey versus Merab. I want to see high output precision striking versus high output wrestling. I want to see what Corey can do with Merab. I want to see if he can do better than Jan was able to do against Merab. Yeah, I mean, I think that division is in such a great spot right now. So many possibilities. Yeah, give me one more.
Song Yadong against Adrian Yanez would be a very, very fun fight.
Do you think? But I think because I'm looking at the standings. Song's 8 right now. Yanez is 12. Would Song have to lose this fight to get that fight?
Probably, yeah.
But it's fine. But I'm still into it either way.
Yeah, which obviously probably wouldn't happen because obviously I've got Song basically winning. But if I'm thinking about someone else with it, actually, Song Yadong against Rob Font would be a good one.
Yes, it would. Yes, it would. Like you said, but we could literally just do this 1 through 15. Hell, Chris Gutierrez could fight somebody right there at the in the 8 through 10 spot. We'd be like, oh, this is exciting as hell too. it's just there's just so many guys in that division that are killers. Anything else you want to touch on at bantamweight before we get out of here today?
Not at the moment, no. The only other thing I can think of is obviously the fight next week, and I feel like that would probably be best to say for obviously next
Oh
week.
yeah, we'll definitely cover that in detail next week.
Yeah, but I feel like the only thing I will cover on that is that that fight potentially could be massive, and kind of what I said earlier in terms of if that fight like is amazing and like is a great 5 round fight or just has really really good like moments, depending on what happens after that, that fight could be between Aljo and Henry could obviously potentially be the start of could potentially be the start of 135 pounds being the division within UFC. Just really because of like as we said, there's so many matchups there to be made. So that's probably the only thing I would say upon that.
Yeah, no, very well said. Do you think if Sterling loses to we'll save it for next week. We'll save it for next week, guys. Potential fight I'm going to talk about next week. AJ, we did an hour today, man. We all over it, covered about everything we possibly could. Anything you want to say before we get out of here?
Tank made it easy against Ryan Garcia. I know he doesn't like MMA, but that body shot came from hell, and boy. Because I know, because
precision, crazy.
I'll say this now. There's some people who we know that said that obviously, why did Ryan go down? I can take a body shot. You're not taking a body shot from someone who is a world champion who hits like Tank Davis. I'm telling you that now. If you take a body shot like that clean towards the liver, you're going to be rolling around on the floor in pain.
You can't like breathe. You can't move. You're just your body just is going into shock.
It literally get like your body will literally just shut down, and Ryan Garcia was definitely pissing up blood for probably a good 24 hours, bro. Because man,
violent punch, man. That was a perfect precision punch. Tank, obviously with the win. Guys, that's all for us on HOA MMA this week. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, help us get to 40 subs. We're getting closer. Every sub counts. Thank you guys for all the views, and we'll keep pumping these out. We'll see you again next week. HOA out.
HOA out.